Hi everybody, welcome back to my channel. Today we'll be talking about the ATR-72. Please remember to like and subscribe. Now let's get right into it. Fact 1. Joint French and Italian airplane. The ATR-72 and the airplane manufacturer that creates it, ATR, is a joint Italian and French company. Interestingly, on the French side, the company morphed into Airbus that we know of today. The ATR name has a different version in French and Italian, but they both translate to regional transport airplanes. It's also very interesting that ATR produces solely the ATR-72 and ATR-42 and does not produce any other planes. And therefore you can say that ATR is a company that produces only propeller turboprop planes instead of jets that you see flying around in the air. Now let's get into the next fact. Fact 2. Stretch ATR-42. It is super interesting that the ATR-72 is really a stretched version of the ATR-42. Now of course the size is different, right? Because it is a stretched version, but the ATR-42 and the ATR-72 are almost exactly alike, except for the dimensions and engines used. The ATR-72 is simply a smaller version of the ATR-72. You can see here on this diagram, everything is almost exactly the same, obviously again as I mentioned, except for the dimension and the engine used. In my opinion, this is a very smart and clever thing to do, because if you think about it, if the two kinds of airplanes share almost the same set of components, whereas one is simply larger than the other, it's pretty easy to manufacture. And in fact, if the components are exactly the same for some parts, for example the seats, windows, then they actually don't need to order any special parts and can have the same parts served for both production lines. This kind of manufacturing commonality would be super useful in situations where supply chains could be disrupted, as we've seen in 2020 and 2021 due to the COVID pandemic. And so I think ATR is pretty smart to have just making these two types of airplanes and have them almost exactly the same. Now let's get into the next fact. Fact 3. Still in production. Ever since the ATR-72's introduction in 1980s, it is still being manufactured today. It's incredible that this airplane has served for so many decades and is continuously being ordered by airlines around the world and continue to be refined as well. The ATR-72 has so many different variants, with each variant being customized for different needs for each different airline, as well as improvements on its own aircraft from the feedback of the other airline operators. These turboprop airplanes have proven to be so successful that, as I mentioned, it is continued to be sold and delivered every day. In fact, over 1,600 of these airplanes have been delivered worldwide across hundreds of airlines and many countries. It is probably no secret that these utility aircrafts are so useful for short-haul regional flights that airlines continue to book orders for them so that they could receive updated and newer variants. Now let's get into the next fact. Fact 4. Military uses. As I previously mentioned, ATR-72 is a very popular short-haul regional airplane. The militaries also took notice of that and have ordered these types of airplanes for their air forces. A good example is the Italian Air Force. They have procured the ATR-72 for their own use because they have found the usefulness of the turboprop airplane that could potentially go places where jets may not be able to go. Not only Italian, but the French government also has ATR-72s for use, as well as the Colombian, Nigerian, Senegalese, and Myanmar Air Forces. They have all found usefulness of a turboprop that could land and take off from fields that may not be as clean-cut or prepared as compared to landing strips serving huge jumbo jets or just smaller jets that may need special care. With the military also interested in ATR-72, it makes sense that it is continues to be produced even today. And so not just civilian airlines order these airplanes, but the military operators as well. Now let's get into the next and final fact. Fact 5. Good safety records. Now, despite what you may have heard recently at the time of this publication about an air crash in Nepal involving ATR-72, as well as numerous airplane crashes that were caught on video, so therefore becoming sensationalized and highly broadcasted, the ATR-72 is actually a pretty safe airplane. In fact, if you tally up all the incidents and fatalities of the ATR-72, it is nowhere near the number of fatalities and crashes incurred by Boeing 737, Boeing 777, and especially smaller general aviation propeller planes such as Piper or Cessna. It's probably more fair to compare ATR-72 against other propeller planes because jets simply have different type of handling, different type of circumstances that could contribute to an incident. And so if you look at the statistics, the ATR-72 is actually a very safe aircraft to fly, with millions of hours with very little incidents. I know that the media has portrayed these as similarly dangerous machines, but when in reality, if you look at the total stats, there are many other types of airplanes that are more dangerous than the ATR-72 or the ATR-42. Well, that's it for my video today. Thank you so much for watching. Please remember to like and subscribe. See you next time.